It seems scientific, but it's, I think, pseudoscientific because it lacks a lot of sound theory. I want to talk to you about another technique that was developed at about the same time as conjoint analysis back in the early 70s, the Westendorp Price Sensitivity Meter. This is a commonly used tool to get at pricing analysis. It is a tool in which you show, it's a survey question, it's 4 questions in a survey, so you can do it faster than conjoint analysis. You typically show a single product concept and educate the respondent about that product concept, and then you ask them 4 questions. At what price is it so expensive that you would not be able to buy this product? At what price is it too cheap that you would doubt the quality of this product and not buy it? And then there's 2 middle price points that you ask about. The acceptably expensive, at what point is this product beginning to get very expensive for you, but you still would buy it? And at what point is this product acceptably cheap? It's getting cheap, but not so cheap that you would doubt its quality. So you just ask 4 questions and get the respondent to tell you 4 prices. What do you do with the data? Westendorp, back in the 1970s, recommended this kind of analysis. And I'm going to tell you that this type of analysis doesn't have a lot of robust sound theory to it. It's been used widely, but it's also been questioned widely as not very robust without really strong theory behind it. But let's take, for example, the red line, the too expensive line. This is a cumulative plot of the percent of people that say that, for example, $1,000, 90% of the people say that $1,000 is too expensive when you look at the 4 price points that they gave you. Down at $100, only 10% of the respondents thought that $100 was too expensive for them. So you plot these 4 cumulative curves for the 4 different price points that we asked for each respondent. And the intersection, Westendorp said back in the 1970s, had meaning. Let me tell you the meaning that that the author of this, Westendorp, suggested. He called the point of marginal cheapness this intersection between these 2 lines, the yellow line and the blue line. And he called the point of marginal expensiveness this intersection between the red line and the gray line on the right. And he thought that the gap between those 2 intersections represented the acceptable price range. Okay, take it for what it's worth. There's not a lot of sound theory to this, but it's been widely used over the years and taken as truth. Now, the optimal price point is the intersection there, and what he called the indifference price point, for whatever that means, is the intersection between the acceptably cheap and the acceptably expensive lines. Okay, so you can tell that I'm not especially enthusiastic about this approach. It seems scientific, but it's, I think, pseudoscientific because it lacks a lot of sound theory. Some of the weaknesses of this approach is that it only focuses on 1 product concept. So if you wanted to test thousands or hundreds of potential modifications of your product, it would be very difficult to do that with the Westendorp approach. As I mentioned, the line crossing interpretation lacks sound theory, and it doesn't put the respondent into the realistic mindset of comparing multiple alternatives and prices. However, in the 1990s, Newton Miller Smith presented an extension of the Westendorp Price Sensitivity Meter, where they asked the 5-point purchase intent scale for the 2 middle price points that the respondent said. They additionally added 2 questions to ask, how likely would you be to buy it at your acceptably expensive and acceptably cheap prices? And adding in that 5-point purchase intent scale tends to add a little bit more strength and tie the Van Westendorp price sensitivity meter a little bit more to purchase intent and likelihood, but it still has its weaknesses, I believe. In terms of the strengths, it's a quick methodology that you can use in surveys. And when you really don't have an idea of how people would price something, how they would expect, what they would expect to pay, when the product is truly new to the market, this can be a semi-quantitative, a little bit better than qualitative approach, leading up to probably a later conjoint analysis study that you would want to implement.